What's up, YouTube? We're seeing a lot of market indicators in the red this week, so let's take a look at them and also talk about why immigration and foreign investors might be more important now than ever. Hey guys, it's Fred here, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Toronto Real Estate Market Update. If this is your first time checking out my channel, we're here every single week talking about the latest updates and to give you the best real estate tips and market news. So if this is your first time here, consider subscribing to my channel. And today we're going to be talking about why immigration and foreign buyers play an important role in driving the economy. But before we do, let's take a quick look at what's been happening this past week with the Toronto market. Last week we saw the number of new homes listed on the market for freehold properties drop 19%. This is the second week in a row now that this number's come down. There were 473 new listings, which is lower than what we saw in a single week before and during the pandemic. So we're starting to see less home inventory become available week over week. And even though we're still considered to be sitting on a healthy amount of inventory, especially compared to just a few months ago, a declining number in the supply at an increasing rate is going to create a tighter market for potential buyers. And in fact, the same trend is happening with condos. There were 802 new condo listings that came out, which is higher than any other week we saw earlier this year. But compared to recent weeks, the number has come down 6%. The declining supply can put potential buyers at higher risk of competing against each other in a housing market that might be once again tightening up. And we're back in a market where we're starting to see multiple offers happening, which is creating a bit of a heated market, leaving buyers and sellers both wondering, how can they time this market? But at what capacity do you think buyer competition is impacted while there's a ban on international travel? The restriction on international travel to Canada was extended to July 31st. But even with these restrictions, Canada is still accepting applications for immigration and issuing invitations to apply for permanent residence. And this is to stay on track with the plan to welcome more than 1 million permanent residents to Canada over the next 3 years. But as the population in the GTA and surrounding areas increases, so would the demand for suitable housing, which of course can impact market prices. And for a while we were seeing home prices rise again, but last week prices fell by 9%, making the average sold price in Toronto $1.35 million. You can see that it's following a similar trend that we saw in 2019, but last year's activity was normal in comparison, as we typically see the market slow down coming out of the spring. And we're actually seeing a similar trend in the condo market. The average price for a condo in the city is down from the previous week by 5%, down to $655,000. This is almost $100,000 less compared to what we saw earlier this year, which creates an opportunity for potential buyers as prices are still relatively low. But if the Toronto market is recovering, then why is it that we're seeing prices fall? The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation made a really interesting note in their most recent forecast. They predicted sales and prices to recover by 2021, however, we can expect to see a drop early next year, right before we see steady growth all the way into 2022. And you can learn more about the summer market outlook and how it applies to the Toronto property market by checking out the video in the link up top. It's a summary of what Toronto can expect to see happen based on their forecast with respect to new home construction, sales volumes, and home prices impacted by demand. In fact, newcomers to Canada are forecasted to purchase 340,000 homes over the next 5 years in Ontario, so we can expect the demand for housing to go up during this time. And that increased demand will contribute to the rising prices in the city, especially if we continue to see a limited amount of supply. And now before we get into home sales, like this video if you're gaining value, and comment below if you think immigration will play a huge role in the recovery of the Toronto real estate market. Because if 1 in every 5 homes is purchased by a non-Canadian resident, then there's likely a certain level of dependence on immigration to boost the economy. But share your thoughts because I would love to know what you think as well. Alright, so now let's take a look at home sales. And just like new listings and prices, home sales are also down with only 248 sold. This is a significant drop of 30% compared to the previous week at 354 sold, which was actually on par with the amount of sales we were seeing earlier this year. And now with condos, we're seeing the same downward trend with sales falling 24% to 281 that sold. But despite sales and prices potentially falling, Trev is recommending policymakers to address the lack of a diverse housing supply in the GTA to ensure affordability. This could include the deferral of municipal and provincial land transfer taxes, adjusting the mortgage stress test, and allowing 30-year amortizations for insured mortgages, or even an adjustment to the foreign buyer's tax to allow as much opportunity as possible to Canadians. In regular market conditions, foreign buyers, international students, landed immigrants, as well as non-permanent residents would be seeking some sort of housing, either to rent or to buy. But the number of individuals in each of these categories has gone down since April, which might add to the reasons why prices on sales are down overall. And by November 1st, we should be getting an announcement regarding the plan for Canada's immigration levels. And I think it's crucial that we prioritize and maintain a high level of immigration, which helps keep the economy moving. Because just like almost anybody else, they're likely to spend not just on housing, but also transportation, telecommunications, and other goods and services that support Canadian jobs. So it makes sense why the Canadian government is pushing to open international travel in just 3.5 weeks from now. Okay, so now here's a quick recap of what's happening in the Toronto real estate market. The number of homes that sold last week came down, but we might see this number go up depending on the number of homes that are conditionally sold. And while prices were on the rise for several weeks, it seems that they have also now started to come down. The number of homes listed on the market also fell, and if we do in fact see a limited supply, we might see prices go up. And with the condo market, we're seeing the same trends in all three categories. And this is information that's going to change every single week, so to stay updated, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that way YouTube will let you know whenever a new video is out. You can also catch previous episodes by clicking on the link up top. And as always, thank you for tuning in and taking the time to watch these updates, and I will see you guys next time.